And I want to bring into the conversation here Dr. Alex Del Carmen. He heads up the School of Criminology, Criminal Justice, and Strategic Studies at Tarleton State University in Stephenville, Texas. Alex, thanks for joining us on Fox News Radio.
Thanks for having me.
Wanted to talk about some of the news we've heard today from police departments, announcing shifts in patrols, doubling up units so officers are never alone. Is this an appropriate response? Is this a long-term response, you think, for police departments?
You know, it's hard to say whether or not the response is going to be long-term or long-lived, but I can tell you that this tragedy of last night is going to lead law enforcement agencies throughout the country to reconsider how we do business. In other words, how the tactics of being able to control crowds, the ability that police officers all have to protect the lives of others during a protest. And so this is really a case study for many years to come.
There have been, just today, reports of officers being targeted in Tennessee, Georgia, Missouri. In one of those cases, it's believed that somebody called 911, and when officers arrived, that's when they targeted them. I mean, that's a frightening thought for these officers that are going out on, I know that we shouldn't say routine. Every time a police officer responds, there's some danger involved, but this has to change the thinking of police departments, doesn't it?
It absolutely has. And in fact, we have been predicting, sadly, yesterday's event and some of what you're noting right now for many months. The rhetoric, the tone of conversation that we're having across the United States, unfortunately, is leading some people to do irrational things towards our defenders.
I want to talk briefly about what we saw from the Dallas Police Department, and it was talked about a little bit at this briefing that we just had with the city mayor. I had never heard of an example before where one of these robotic devices was used to detonate something that the police brought in. Is that a new tactic that police are using? Can you talk a little bit about how that decision would have been made to end this standoff?
You know, I think the tactic in itself is not new, but it is new to law enforcement in the United States. We've seen that in other countries throughout the world, particularly the military has actually used that, where they've relied on a robotic device to either detonate a bomb or arm it to kill a bad guy. So what I think the chief of police in Dallas did yesterday was simply relying on a robotic device to take out the life of someone who otherwise would have signified putting even more people at risk. So this is perhaps a new normal for law enforcement throughout the country. It's
simply going to have to be a change in thinking, a change in tactics, a change in strategy often.
There is no question. And I think at that point, he started looking at the body count and probably decided that it was safer to send in a robotic device and neutralize the threat as opposed to putting more officers at risk.
All right, Dr. Alex Del Carmen from Tarleton State University, thank you so much for joining us.